Here.
Chris Mortensen,
Here.
Michael Shaw,
Here.
Priscilla Benali,
Yate here.
Kevin Mitchell.
Here.
Okay, thank you, John. We do have a quorum, so we'll start our meeting at this time. John?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. We start our meeting. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of New Mexico. And welcome. Good afternoon, staff, for being here. Bart, Andrew, Coletta, K-Don, Wade, and the two ladies right there. Thank you so much for being here.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we approve today's agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made by Chris Mortensen and second by Priscilla Benali to approve the agenda for today's meeting. Roll call, Joan.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Miss Benali,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Thank you, board members. Let's go down to number 3, meeting minutes of October 25th, 2021 meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes of October 25th, 2021.
Okay, motion's been made by Michael Shaw to approve the November 25th, 2021 meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chris Mortensen. Roll call, Joan.
Mr. Mitchell,
Abstain.
Miss Benali,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Thank you, board members. We approve our meeting minutes for October 25, 2021. Let's go down to item number 4, approval of the consent agenda items.
Motion to approve of consent agenda items A, B, C, D, and E.
Okay, motion's been made by Michael Shaw to approve the consent agenda items. Second,
I'll second with a couple of questions, Mr. Long.
go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Long, and thank you, Mr. Shaw, for your motion. I had a question on the on-call construction contract services. Is this something new that we're starting, and if you could provide a little more detail?
President Long, Ms. Benali, we've done on-contract work before with different companies. One of the problems we're having is lack of capacity in order to get several different projects done in the district with the new funding that we have. And so in order to build more capacity, we need to go outside of the organization to see if we can find companies that can provide on-call services so that we can move quicker on different projects because, again, we're limited in capacity currently.
Thank you, Mr. Hyatt. The next question is, did we have any other dance teams compete and qualify but are unable to have the funds to attend this the Team Union National Dance Competition in Florida?
Mr. Long, Ms. Benali, this is this is a dance competition for this particular group. This is not something that the district does on a regular basis. It's up to the dance team, and it's being paid for by them. It's not being paid for with district funds. I am not aware of any other dance team that's wanted to go to this competition or qualified for the competition.
Priscilla, does that answer your questions?
Yes, thank you.
Gushina.
I appreciate it.
Okay, we do have a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda items. Roll call, Joan.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Miss Benali,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Thank you, board members. Let's go down to study circle. No public comment, I guess. So let's go down to Study Circle B. Mike?
President Long, members of the board, we have a presentation today regarding academic parent-teacher teams. This is one of the items that pertains to your strategic plan for the district and revolves around parental involvement in schools, parental attendance in schools to activities. In this particular case, it's a program that we've been implementing throughout the last few years. The good thing about this program is that it actually connects the students' learning to those conferences or to those to the students' classroom, so that even at home, parents are working with their children in a way that allows them to continue to build skills that apply within the program or curriculum of the school. That's a very brief overview. I turn the time over to Mr. Bell and his team to give you more information and more details about this opportunity. We've heard a lot of good things from parents who have really found this to be very helpful for them and an exciting thing for their school and community.
Thank you, Mr. Hyatt, President Long, members of the board. I'd like to present my team. Kristen Bischoff, she is the Director of Curriculum and Assessment and oversees the Aptt budget, and Shannon McFarland, who oversees the day-to-day operations of Aptt, who is the Director of Early Childhood pre-K through 2. So all the education there. And so what we're going to talk about is academic parent-teacher teams. We've gone through 3 days of schools having them already, and we're having them continue this week and the week after Thanksgiving break. So we're still in the process of academic parent-teacher teams. One of the things we're doing a little different this year than I've done in the past is I'm having one of my directors or myself or the director of a curriculum assessment have a district person to go in and support the schools as well, just to make sure that we're one team trying to work with parents. And so I'm going to turn it now over to Kristen and Shannon.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity to go over APTT with you. Can you guys hear me?
A little bit closer to the mic. You have to move it probably, just so it picks up on online.
Okay.
You have to almost eat it.
No, thank you. So thank you guys again for allowing us to present today on academic parent-teacher teams. Okay. So this is the vision, the goal, to create nights where families become involved with their students' academics, to create environments where the families get to know each other and can support each other in their child's learning. And how we do this is we work on setting up high-impact family engagement nights. And this is where we build personal relationships with the families. We share data with the families. We model lessons, and they're pretty much called games. We teach them that they're games that they can play with their children, and they're focused on the skill that we are trying to improve for that grade level. And then the other thing is we listen to families about what's going on at home, the challenges that they're having with helping their students with their educational learning. And then it's like Mr. Hyatt said, it's aligned to our school improvement plan for the district. And how do the schools participate in this? We set up the environment so that this activity can take place. We make sure that it is set up to make families feel comfortable, make them feel like they're a part of their students' learning, and then stress again how important they are as their family's first teacher to provide time during the day, during the weekends, so that someone can practice with their child. This is a slide that during every meeting we spend a lot of time on. And if you guys would look at it just for a minute, and I'll share what some families have come up with. But do you guys have any thoughts about this slide, what this slide tells families? And this was created by a person doing their grad studies at ASU. She's the one that kind of came up with this, with the data, and then started the development of APTT. So does anybody have any comment on what this slide may state?
I think that 12% in school needs to be very productive and used very wisely if that's all that we have, 12%.
Agreed. Now this doesn't, that's the 12% in school that we spend during our regular, I think we go, do we go over 180 days now? Yeah, it was based on 180 days, but this doesn't count our after-school programs or our Start Smart or extended school year programs that we have. But that's what parents find is shocking, that the kids only spend 12% of their time within a year in a school building. 33% is spent sleeping if they sleep 8 hours a night. 55% of the time, they are at home with their families or siblings or on vacation, something like that. So this is they realize that there's a large amount of time where the families can be supporting their child's learning outside of school.
And this is a real aha. Almost every parent is shocked when they see that percentage.
I was shocked when I saw it because I feel like we're in school a lot, but we're not in as much as I thought we were. So this right here is the rollout of the APTT model. We have one team meeting, and next year we're hoping to have our first team meeting in September. This year we had to go back and do a lot of training because we had an off year, and we had quite a few staff turnovers. Then you have an individual session, which is our parent-teacher conferences, and 2 other parent-teacher meetings throughout the year. Down below, these are the essential elements of a meeting, and they happen throughout every meeting. After the first meeting, the only thing that's added is we look at the growth the students made on the skill that we were focusing on in our previous APTT meeting. In the first one, we're just giving them the initial data, the beginning of the year data for where their child scores. And this is kind of an overview of what we've done throughout the district. Crown Point and Jefferson were our pilot programs with the PED rollout. Then in 2018, these were the schools that were started. 2018 we added K and 1. The next year we added 2 and 3. Same with the next year we added K and 1 for the remaining schools. And then this year, because of last year we had an off year, it was decided to roll it out K through 5. So that's the other reason we've brought in more training and more support from the district to make sure this is successful. Some of the district support is meals are provided to the parents, families for this night. Daycare is provided. I didn't put that up there, but we have child care for the nights. Sparks kits were provided for all families in both ELA and math. And someone from the district, along with myself, were attending all of the APTT nights. I also go out and support them on their planning days for that also. I wanted to let Mr. Bell and Ms. Bischoff kind of share what their ahas were for the nights they visited.
So one of the things I saw, I've been to through this year in Crown Point Elementary, both elementaries, it's systemic. No matter what school you're going to, the format is exactly the same. The actual skill that they're teaching the parents might be different though. For Thoreau, they're worried about multiplication skills. For Crown Point in the same grade level that I went to, they're worried about kids not knowing their alphabet in the 2nd grade. So that's where they gave materials. They found materials for the parents and they showed them how to use it in that APTT night. And they played games with the kids so they could actually have practice and get it modeled to them. It's really a strong program to get parents involved in what's happening with their students' education.
Good afternoon. I was able to visit Red Rock Elementary and Catherine A. Miller. One thing that particularly struck me was the teachers really wanted to get to know the families and made every effort to make the families who attended feel comfortable, feel at home, just really trying to establish the relationship. And this is a really, really big component of APTT, is just relationship building with our families. That was one thing that it was really great to see in all of the classrooms. The other thing is the teachers are taught how to present the instruction to the parents. So they use an I do, we do, you do model, so that parents get a really good understanding of how to take the material that's given to them and take it home and engage in it with their kids. So it's very systematic. The parents of the classrooms that I was in were happy, they were engaged, they were talking to each other, they were open with the teachers. I just feel like it's just a good opportunity for our parents to come in to make relationships with the school, with the principals, with other teachers, and then come away with it feeling like something was accomplished that they could take home and work on with their kids for the duration until the next meeting. So I was really happy to be a part of it. It was my first couple of times attending APTT, and I really, I know that we will continue as a district, the directors, our coordinators supporting this program. I know our principals and our teachers and our families were really happy to see the district supporting them in this capacity. So it's a great program. Thank you.
And just as a moment of clarification, the parents are in the classrooms with, the students are in some kind of care service at the time. It's just the parents and the teachers during the intervention. Some parents bring older siblings from mid school or high school that sit in with them, but it really is a conversation from the parents and the teachers, so two-way conversation. And the students are in services, doing fun activities during that time with another group.
And I wanted to let you guys know in your folders, there's a email I got from a parent. I tried to contact parents to have them come here. The one that sent the email was working. The parent that was actually physically going to be here has a sick child today, so they weren't able to attend. So that letter's in there. And then I've also given you the schedule in the back so that if you would like to attend some of the nights, we have Rhema tomorrow night, and they're our first school that's going to try it a little differently because we've never done K through 5 really. They're starting with 3 through 5 a little earlier in the evening, and then we're going to stop, and then we're going to have the K through 2 teachers come in because we found out it's been hard for parents to attend if they have a child in the lower grades versus the upper grades. So we're trying to play around with that to see how we can best meet the family's needs. And then the last slide. Do you guys have any questions?
Mr. Long, I have several, please.
Board members, go ahead. Priscilla.
Yeah, thank you very much. My first question is the statistics and the data that you presented, is that a national, especially the pie chart, is that a national, New Mexico, McKinley?
It's national. APTT now.
Do we have anything more localized, even the state of New Mexico?
It'd be very similar, Miss. This year we're going 1,080 hours, 990 elementary, which is the national average. That fits in there.
Okay.
This is actually for secondary. Elementary, that 12% would be slightly less for our district.
And my next question is, I would really like to see how well it's attended. So I don't know if you can provide us with a chart of schools and the attendance, that if there's an increase, a decrease, I would like to kind of look at that and keep track of that myself. And I'm trying to understand, the next thing is, so is this kind of like a parent-teacher conference? Is it like, what do they do? What are they interacting with? Is it kind of like math night or, something like that?
So I will talk about that piece.
Okay.
Shannon's going to take it back to the slide. So it's built off the conference style. So there is still one meeting, which would be the second meeting, which would be an individual session where they talk one-on-one with the students, with the students' parents. The first session is looking at your classroom data. What are the majority of our kids struggling with in my classroom or in this grade level? We design with Shannon and the APTT materials that we can give out to those parents that would help them. We designed the entire instruction. So what they do in a day, they start doing the welcome and team building. So they have a team building activity where everyone gets to know each other. One of the activities I was in was this balloon catching thing, and they had to tell each other something about themselves every time they caught the balloon. That was just something to get the parents to know each other. And they had to say something nice about their own children. The foundational grade level skills, that's where we're opening up to. This is the data. We share the data. This is the area that we are going to work on. For example, third grade, a lot of them are multiplication skills. They talk about that, and then they share the data that why are we going to work on this? This is the classroom data. Then they actually give, each kid has a number in their folder, or each parent has a number for their student in the folder. They can see where their student on a number line ranks with everyone else. So that opens up conversations as well. Why is my kid doing worse than the class, or why is my kid doing better than the class? It opens up a lot of questions that you hear in those meetings. And then you model the practice of what are we going to do. A lot of them choose 2 activities that they're going to physically give to the parents. They show them how to engage in that activity, and then they do it as a group. And then they have them do it individually, just play around and ask any questions about how to engage in that activity in the home environment. And then they facilitate the family practices where they all start working on it, and then they set SMART goals. So I know, I've looked at that graph, my student has this many words. What do I expect as a parent to see by the next time we meet? And so they make SMART goals based on that. They take on a role also in this. And it helps get them to also opens up the door a little better understanding of how their students are doing and how am I going to help them as a family. That's the kit and caboodle. It's those 6 steps right there.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. So how is this culturally, the diversity of it, and then also relevant? Is there any implementation of it being bilingual? We have a lot of Filipino families, a lot of Hispanic families, a lot of Native families. How are we, is there any movement or ways we can implement the culture?
The Navajo language and culture teachers can also, and we might talk about that, we can put them into some of the sessions as well, but no, that's not been the focus on this. This has been really focused on the academic gaps. Yeah.
Someone that will interpret for the grandparent to be able to understand what's going on in the meeting and how to facilitate the game at home. It doesn't have to be the grandparent. It can be a sibling working with the child. Each family designs how they want to provide the support at home.
Thank you. And my last probably question is, do we pay into this program? Is there a fee? What is the cost, and are parental involvement funds used to pay for that cost?
So we do pay into it now. It's supposed to, once we get through the 5 grade levels, which will be this year, we're supposed to be able to back off and be able to sustain it. But probably because of the pandemic, we have so many new people that we're probably going to have to support it probably another year or so. But overall, it is parental involvement funds, yes. Operational, set aside for parental involvement. The food is bought that way, the supplies are bought that way. And the supplies meaning every parent goes home with supplies. That's what I'm talking. And a meal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
I just have one question, Mr. Long. I was just kind of wondering, how often are these meetings held? Are they, how?
4 times a year.
4 times a year? Okay.
Twice the first semester, one being a group meeting, one being an individual meeting, and the second semester, 2 more times being the groups, the families together.
Okay. And I think Ms. Benali brought up a good point about the language, because I know that with some of my clientele, I have quite a few Hispanic parents who come in and they bring in their little kid, and the little kid is having to interpret from their parent to me. So if those parents were to come in with their child, do you guys have someone to be able to speak to that parent?
We would find someone, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Any
Mr.
other
President.
questions?
I have a quick question,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
President. So, don't flame me for asking this question. Why don't we just assign kids homework and provide like tutoring and help them out with their homework?
We do that as
It-
well.
it
We also
seemed-
have academic tutoring every after-hours academy every night.
And I mean, this like 4 times a year seems like just kind of a drop in the bucket compared to pushing all our chips into like homework.
I will speak about homework. Most kids, we don't get it back. A lot of schools have gone, especially elementary, have gone away from homework altogether because it made kids fail. About 90% of the kids don't have either somebody to support them at home, there's chores at home. Philosophically wise, I think homework's one pathway, but it's not something we can control as a school to make sure it gets back done. And we try to look at locus of control, something we can actually impact.
I mean, like what's the participation, curious like what the participation level is of this, you know, if you have like 100 kids in those grade levels, how many kids are bringing their parents to, you know, to this thing 4 nights a week compared to maybe more work in the other direction?
I can tell you this year, we noticed, and we've noticed it at all the schools we've gone to, that the majority of the families are coming right now from our 3rd through 5th grade families because they were the ones participating in APTT prior to the pandemic. We're going to have to work very hard on getting the information out to our K through 2 parents who are new to this process. But it seems to have sustained with our families that were in 3rd through 5th. They were eager to come back to the APTT meetings, and when they're setting their SMART goals, homework is an every night ordeal and it can be hours long. We're only asking parents to work on this one skill with their child. They can set it for 2 times a week for 15 minutes, 3 times a week for 15 minutes. We do request that they don't try to set a goal for 5 times a week because we know it's not going to happen. We know it's not feasible. So we're trying to get them to set a realistic goal as to how their family can help their child succeed on this skill.
If I could clarify, this is 4 nights a year, not 4 nights a week.
Right, yeah, I think
Yes,
I
so-
understood it, yeah.
So, but I'm assuming with homework, there may not be someone there every night to help them, but that we're trying to get them to prioritize this time
Sure.
to help with their.
I'm
help with their
a
students'
old
learning.
school guy, I guess. I mean, in our day, they teach the skills in the classroom, and then you
Yeah.
would practice the skills at home.
I agree.
And it wouldn't be, you know, hours and hours. And if you're struggling at home with the practice, you got to circle back to
Yes.
the teaching. And if you want to get better, then you must practice.
I agree, and I think this is also a way to allow our parents to realize they are an important part of their child's education. So I know a lot of the parents I talked to, especially when I was doing special services, they felt that the school knew everything about their child to ensure that we were helping their kids meet their needs. And we need to empower the parents again to realize that they're a big part of their students' education.
Parents have to understand if they want their kids to be successful, they have to help them practice.
Yes.
And I know some parents aren't equipped for that, and that's where we can certainly fill that gap and help them out. But I mean, I have kids in the school district, and I want my kids to be successful, therefore I practice with them.
Agreed.
And we stay up until the practice is done and put some pressure on them, and it seems
Agreed.
like it works.
I agree. It just, not all children have that same opportunity,
Sure.
so.
And this is not a replacement for what's going on in the classroom. This is in a place, in a way we can enhance and get parental buy-in and actually equip parents with skills to help their children. And as you mentioned, Shannon, not everybody has the skills or knows creative ways in which they can support the instruction in the classroom at home. And this provides a very easy way through games and activities that parents can play with their children that reinforce the skills that are happening in the classroom. And so if a parent may not be able to help with a math problem, but through the game they can still reinforce the skills that child is learning in school, there's a lot of wins there. Parental involvement wins, academic wins for the child, that constant communication, the opportunity for parents to interact with each other, to give support to each other. It helps build a school community. rather than an individual learning community for each parent.
And I agree with that last part, because one of the things they scheduled into the meeting, and it's all pre-planned, is they talk to parents about how this affects life skills, and then parents share out other ways they can support their child with this skill. So it just follows up on what Mr. Hyatt said.
Mr. Long, I lied. I have another 2 more questions. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Priscilla.
My first one is, I'm sorry, but this is the first time I'm hearing about this. And I was asking Kevin, have you heard about this? I haven't heard about this, so I don't know if more. Vanessa's great at a lot of Facebook stuff and website, our school websites, radio announcements. I don't know. We need to get this valuable information out there to the parents, and I haven't heard about it. I mean, not that I know everything, but I think something like this needs to be out there and really, really given to our parents. And my last question is, we're always going to get the students that are always involved and the parents always care about the education. And I know it's a really tough thing to do, but how are we getting parents and students that really need this? We're not getting them. It's going to be the same kids that come to parent-teacher conferences, or, it's going to be that same bunch. But what are we doing for the kids that really need it and we're not reaching them?
So I'm going to give you 2 examples that I've seen so far. I've been to APT before this year. I went to Twin Lakes 2 years ago. Ms. Sanchez had the grade levels do a presentation, which got all the students into the building and the parents into the building. And so they had almost a perfect attendance on it. It really is about thinking outside of the box, how you can encourage parents to come in and what would be the gain for them. Sometimes I'm a little intimidated as a parent, not myself, but to go into the classroom and have to talk with teachers that I actually didn't have a good experience with in my childhood. We're trying to make something to bring them in, and so there may be a lot of ideas. That was Twin Lakes' idea. Chi Dodge, they really advertised the food, and people came. So it really depends on different schools. I went to Crown Point Elementary, and it had a lot less than people attending in the K-2 than Peru did. But in what happened in that classroom, those were kids that had needs. They had some great conversations about every kid, especially right now, has a need that the gap through even COVID took. And so they were getting something very beneficial for their children. Conversation.
Yeah, so this is advertised to all parents. It's also one of your board goals, and so that's why we're reporting on it as we finish our 3rd year, although we missed out on the 2nd year due to COVID-related reasons. And so this is, I believe I've even seen it on, I think, Facebook, other places, multiple times to notify people. It's not something just put out there in one spot. It's put out there and sent to every parent to participate. The first time we implemented it was in 1819, as the slideshow presented. And I think I was in Albertsons, and usually I get a complaint or a concern from a parent or a question. I actually had a parent that I did not know that was a Crown Point parent that just thanked us as a district for offering this for her and her child. She really valued the experience, and that was 3 years ago.
And that's where I've got most of my compliments with the Crown Point. They're very happy with the product there. A lot of them will tell you they didn't go through finished school, they struggle a lot. They want to help their kids. They just do not know how, the means. And any way we as a district can support them in that, we will do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Wade.
Thank you, Mr. Long.
Yeah. Board
Mr. Hyatt.
members, when we worked on our strategic plans a few years back, I think what we need to do is revisit our plan. You see a lot of these things in there. And so I don't know if you still have your copy, but I think you need a copy. The office here can get you a copy so you can revisit what we develop and get a lot of information from there. But thank you for those questions. Okay. Let's go down. You still have a report, Mike? Okay, so We go down to study circle C. You can take note of those and put them down on your calendar. And let's go down to new business. Item 6, new business A, approval of naming board members to serve on the Budget Audit Committee. Board members?
I would like to nominate Chris Mortensen to the Budget Audit Committee.
Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Priscilla to be on the committee as well.
Okay. We'll do this the Navajo way. I don't think we deserve a second or need a second. So if there's no further recommendations or nominations, let's vote, approve it. By vote, roll call, John.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Benali,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Okay, board members, thank you very much. And Priscilla and Chris, you guys are on the Budget and Audit Committee. Let's
Thank you.
let's go down to new business B, approval of naming board members to serve on the Legislative Committee.
Mr. Long, I'd like to nominate Mr. Mitchell.
Okay?
And I would like to nominate Charles Long.
Okay. If there are no other nominees or recommendations, roll call, John?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Benali,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Thank you, board members. One question I have is, like the new business A, whether Chris and Priscilla needed to abstain. They don't have to. Okay. We have a parliamentarian here, so. We go down to new business C, approval of $300 substitute new hire incentive and $300 substitute back to work incentive. Board members?
Mr. Long, I'd like to motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, Priscilla, motions to approve and second by Michael Shaw. Roll call, John?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Benali,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. We go down to new business D, approval of $1,000 hiring incentive for classified employees. Board members?
Motion to approve of the 1,000 hiring incentive for classified employees.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made by Michael Schaaf and second by Chris Mortensen to approve the $1,000 hiring incentive for classified employees. Roll call, John?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Benali,
I'm sorry, Mr. Long, I have a quick question. When will this start? Or when will this funds be given?
President Long, Ms. Benali, this is effective as of after the date of the retention incentive, so that people are not getting both. So it's for all people hired after that point.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
That way it's not more than what
Yeah.
people receive, so it's.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Thank you, board members. We've taken care of the action items. I believe that we have completed our business for today. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Long, President, I would just like to suggest something real quick before we adjourn.
Go ahead.
you mentioned revisiting our strategic plan.
Yes.
You know, I really think that we need to do it as a board because, there are things in our strategic plan that have been completed. I think we need to go back and see what is all completed and maybe start working on a new strategic plan.
Yeah, I believe so. What I was referring to is, like this, what
Yeah.
was reported to us, those are some of the things that.
Yeah, I know what you were talking about, but I'm just saying we need to probably, because like this one here, if it's been accomplished and it's up and running, and it was on our strategic plan, so we can mark that off.
Yeah.
And I know there's other things in our strategic plan that are up and running already, so we need to work on a new one. And so I'm just saying, maybe our next meeting we can start talking about that.
Okay, I think Mike is working with Philana.
Yeah, President Long, the last few meetings, we've talked about this. This has been a question specifically from Mr. Mortensen. We are in our last year of the strategic plan. And so we have been collecting the data and making sure that we're seeing where we're at through the end of this year. At the same time, we're also surveying. We're starting the survey process so we can survey all stakeholders for the next part of the strategic plan. You'll soon be interviewed as board members. We'll have surveys that are going out to the community to get input to help you decide what you want for your strategic plan for the future after this year. We should have that completed midwinter, and then we'll be able to spend the spring in formulating and putting together those things for your strategic plan for the remainder or for the next foreseeable future.
Priscilla?
Thank you very much, Mr. Long. Yes, before we adjourned, I had that also on my comment that I wanted to make to schedule a work session to review the strategic plan. I know that the holidays are coming, and then January we also have this legislation coming up. So maybe in February, March, we can set some days aside for that to do our at least a 2-3 day work session like we did in the past. I also wanted to announce today is National Moccasin Day. Thank you for our schools that are participating in that and continue to provide our indigenous side of us to our schools and to our students. I also would like to say congratulations to my colleagues up here for their re-election on the GMCS school board. We appreciate you always continuing to think of our students and your dedication to run again for the Board of Education. So yeah, and congratulations to all three of you.
Thank you.
The last thing I wanted to say is the legislative session is January 8th. It opens and ends February 17th. So I would like to ask our lobbyists to come in to provide us with a little, maybe even do a little work session on our legislative priorities, if we have any, and maybe have time again set aside to try to meet with our legislators and continue to have that open dialogue and communication with them before the session. So that will be my request and my recommendation, Mr. Long, and thank you.
Yeah, the thing, if not, I want to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Chris Mortensen and second by Michael Schaaf to adjourn. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Benali,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes.
1:43.
We're adjourned. Board members, thank you. Yeah, and thank you, staff members, for helping us today. Joan, Paletta, Kedon, and Wait,
Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
and Bart, and Andrew. Yeah,
Happy Thanksgiving to you all, staff, and thank you very much.
yep.